Welcome back everybody to another episode of Skid's Garage, and today we're going to tackle into the electricals of my orange panel van. We're going to see if we can get all the lights working and all the switches and everything inside working, and pretty much we'll see what of the electricals we can actually get working. So let's just get stuck straight into it. Okay, so a little update on my ignition shabarkle. Trying to work out why my solenoid down there isn't working. Well, I learnt that it actually earths off to the body, and the body wasn't earthed. Now it is. So that's a crusty old wire that I wasn't using, and then with these new terminals I put on, I just left this disconnected, not realizing what that actually does is earths off the body. So now the body's earthed off. That solenoid now is receiving an earth and now works. So it now turns over with the ignition inside the car, but I was having problems with its getting spark, which I found out these wires down here, it's a little hard to see, but down here there's two wires, this one and that one there. They were a bit crusty, the connections, so tidied them up a bit, connected it back up, and now I've got ignition. So spark, I don't have to sort of hot wire it straight from that coil straight to the battery like I was. So now it'll turn over and fire up on its own. So let's jump inside and I'll show you how it works. I should have had this pre-planned. I've tried doing this one-handed before, it doesn't work very well. Oh, there we go, look at that. So that's ignition. Then I'll get this negative, touch it, look at that, it fires up and it runs. So there you go, that's another thing ticked off, and one step closer to it going for a drive on the road. So I've pulled the loom out from under the dash, and it's raised more questions than what it answers. Someone has gone gung-ho hacking everything up. So this would be for the windscreen wipers, I assume by the switch, I think. Down here there's an actual plug missing, but what's left has all been hacked up, and I reckon, I've got a funny feeling that's got to do with that foot pedal. There should be a foot pedal that goes down here, which squirts window onto the windshield and also activates the windscreen wipers. Otherwise, not too much else looks too bad under the dash, but the loom itself has been hacked up pretty bad. So on this side, this is all looking good. I'm pretty sure I know where all that goes. All those plugs, that plug, looking good. Then I come to this whole heap of taped up wires that go nowhere, so I'm not sure what that would be for. Then I've got this. I've got a funny feeling that's windscreen wipers. That I have no idea. This here these two here, come to think of it, I'm not sure what they're for either. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error. I know that plugs in under the dash behind the cluster. That's my brake light switch. What else do I have here? I reckon that goes into the back of my cluster. That, I can't remember what that's for. And then it's been hacked up even more over here. Well, obviously this one here is for my ignition. That one there, if I remember rightly, that would be for like the radio, I think. This, got no idea, that's been added in. I think that might be headlight switch. So I'll play around with that and see if I can work out what that's for. But my guess is headlight switch. And then I've got all this, which is just hacked up. So I've got no idea. It's raised more questions than it has answers. And then I've got this, which wasn't even connected in. That's my thing that squirts the water onto your windshield and activates the windscreen wiper. And again, cut wires. So I don't know. I'm gonna have a play around with this and see if I can get some of these things working. So I reckon, if I remember correctly, there would be headlights, fan switch for the blower fan, for the heater and whatnot, the heater box under the dash. Then I reckon there's windscreen wipers, and if I recall rightly, that's it. And I'm also missing like your indicator, high beam switch, that goes on there. So let's mess about with that loom and see what we can work out. So this is where I'm at with playing around with the loom. Now I'm no expert at any sort of wiring, but just working off what I have here and then just checking out what and comparing it to what's in the blue Escort. I've worked out using a switch from the blue Escort. This is for your headlights, tail lights, all that. So I've wired it all in. So that should work. I'm not getting any power to the front headlights for whatever reason, but I am to the rear tail lights. And I've also got brake lights working. So I don't have it plugged in at the moment, but I'll plug this in. I'll play with the brake switch and I'll show you the brake lights turning on and off. Firstly, I will show you the tail lights. So you can see back there, light that corner and one there. Now when I flick this on, you can see there, my lights are on. Might be a bit hard to see, but you can see it there. See? On. And this side as well is on. So my tail lights work. I'm just for some reason not getting any power to the front. But small steps. I am making progress. So if you give me a quick moment, I'll connect up this brake switch and I'll show you the brake lights. Okay, so brake switch is plugged in. Now how this works is that when the brake's not being pushed in, that breaks the circuit. So, and then when you apply the brakes, it'll then make a circuit. So I'll push that in. You'll see the backlight there, and there it is. And this one here, that's a bit dim, but at least I'm getting power to it. Could be a problem with the globe, don't know, but that is a big progress forwards. So my backlights are working. I can't test the indicators because I've got no actual indicator stalk. The one I've got laying around here is well and truly no good. So I'll have to round one of them up and test the indicators. But otherwise, I'm making good, reasonable progress. Been messing about here, trying to work out what's what, trying to get a windscreen wipers working, but I'm not having a lot of success with that, so I'll keep tinkering around with that. But I'm slowly making progress. There's not a lot to this. I'm just not very cluey with this stuff, so it's all trial and error for me. But I'll keep tinkering along and I'll keep you updated. Okay, so I've now unraveled my loom, under dash loom, and pretty much identified what everything is. Someone's definitely messed about with this a fair bit, but let's go through it. So here I've got my flasher unit. I've got this here. That's a bit messy, but those wires there would be for my headlight switch. This here is just an earth. It does have another wire coming off it, which I can't identify. Not sure. It doesn't seem to be on. I'm comparing this to two other looms I've got here. None of them actually have this third wire, so I'm not sure what that's about. I've got here, this here would be for your, it connects to your switch. When you open and close your door, it turns on your courtesy light, which is obsolete on this car. Never had that switch, so that's that. Here I have 4 wires, and if you can see in that, so 2 shorter ones and these other 2. Those 4 would be for my dimmer switch. It'd be for my dash dimming switch. I've got here brake switch. What else do I have? I've got here my ignition switch. That I'm not sure about. Not entirely sure about that one. That there plugs into my indicator stalk. This one here into the dash, the cluster. This here just goes in behind the dash. I'm assuming it's just an earth. Now, coming through here, ciphering through all this, pretty sure these have something to do with my windscreen wipers. Here, that would be my fan switch. So my heater fan, that would be for that switch, and that should plug into the heater box. So that's those. Here, I've done some messing about, but this would go onto a connection, like these would join onto a connector. I'm not sure, it's a female connector, not sure what that's for. This doesn't have the connector, someone's obviously cut it off or something, so I've just twitched it together. And that wasn't connected at all, so I've reconnected it. I've got 2 wires here, well actually 3. This one I'm not sure where that leads to. These were all bundled up and taped up. That one there, which is just a plain black, that's a black and white. And I've also got down over here a brown. So I'm not sure, they're the only 3 I'm not sure about where they actually connect up to. Otherwise, I've unwrapped all that. This blue wire was broken, so I've just chucked that connector in there. That's all sweet, and so that just goes into the firewall, goes into the back of the fuse box. This goes into, connects into like your kick panel area on the passenger side. That I reckon does all your body loom that runs to the back of the car. Back here, 3 plugs. I know where they plug into, but I'm not sure what they're actually for. And then back here, I've got these again are for the passenger's side switch. When you open and close the door, turns on and off the courtesy light. Again, obsolete on this car, never had that switch. So I've identified pretty much everything. Connected a few wires back up. This end down here is an absolute mess, but I've finally worked out what everything's for, pretty much. So I'm going to chuck this back in, have one more go at it today, see if I can get anything else working, and then I'm going to have to call it a day. So let's chuck this back in the car and see if I, with any luck, maybe get some headlights, but yeah, let's see. It's hard to see in here because it's late at night. Couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about this damn loom. So what I did was pulled the loom out of my red panel van. I then cross-referenced it with the loom I took out of my orange panel van, and I brought that home. And then I connected it all up into the red panel van. Now, ignition is on. What am I going to try first? Let's do headlights. The switch itself is a bit dicky. Let's do low beam. High beam's a bit dicky. That's the switch. Turns everything on there. You can see back there. It's a bit harder to see, but you can see the tail lights are on. And I've got a parker out, I reckon. Yeah, that parker's out. But headlights work. To get the actual low beam to work, I've got to give this a good wiggle. It's not going to do it for me now. Need 2 hands for it. Oh, there we go, there we go. So the switch itself is dodgy, but you can see there, headlights on. Okay, so that's the headlights dimmer. This is the dimmer. You can actually watch this, turn it on and off. So that's the dimmer done. Ignition, indicators, keeping in mind, turn that off, because keeping in mind that my battery is pretty much dead. It's not going to do it now. It was working before. I reckon my... Oh, what the hell is going on now? Indicators were working. Don't want to work now. I wonder why. I don't know what happened there, but they were working. Nah, don't want to work now. So anyway, that's pretty much everything under the dash this side. Let's jump to the other side and I'll show you everything else I plugged in there. So on the other side, I have plugged in my fan switch, so the heater fan. You can hear it. It's running. And it doesn't want to do that one. I reckon my battery's pretty much dead. But that works. And windscreen wipers. See? Yeah. It's struggling. Yep. I reckon the battery is pretty much completely dead. Now, I don't know what that was for. I've replicated this as much as I can from the loom that's come out of this red panel van. Everything else plugs up. I've got those 3 wires I spoke of. that are on this end. So there was a black and white, there was a black, and a brown, somewhere around here anyway. I know one of those, chances are it's probably for the reverse lights. Otherwise, I don't know what the other two are. Anyway, that shows that this loom works and will work good enough for the orange van. So I'm going to pull this out, and yeah, it should be good enough for the orange van. And then I've got to have that fun task of actually putting in that loom I took out from the red van and actually putting it in nicely, nice and neat. So anyway, that's the loom done. Let's look at putting it back into the orange van and see why things aren't working. So after a lot of messing about, I think I've got this loom working nicely. I'm no auto electrician, so done the best I can, and I'm pretty confident everything that should be working is working. Well, it is on my red panel van. So if it doesn't on the orange panel van, then it's not the loom, it's something else. So let's go through everything. So these three wires here that I couldn't identify, I've worked out would be for the cigarette lighter. So this one here is for the light. So when you turn your lights on, there's a little lights around that should light up on the cigarette lighter. Now that one would be I've marked them off, that's an earth. So that's the earth, the cigarette lighter, and this would be the positive, which is connected to the ignition. So that's identified that. Everything else is plugged in. Obviously down here, there's those wires, there's two of those. Brown ones, they're for the door courtesy light, which don't have. I've got this, it's hard to see the actual switch. That should be my fans. So my heater fan, that's on high, and that's on low. And if you can hear that, it's working. See, high, and then middle off. So that's working nicely. This one over here should be my windscreen wipers, and as you can see, they work. Let's try that second speed, which I'm not sure if it does much difference. Just seems to struggle a bit more. That's the middle one, and off. So windscreen wipers, heater fan all work, so that's all sweet there. And moving over to this side, we will look at headlights. So headlight switch, one flick. It's hard to tell, but the lights are on. I'll see if doing it back here. There we go, you can see tail lights are on. Now this should be Parkers. In this van I've only got the one Parker, so that one's got no Parker light in, but that Parker is working. So getting power to the headlights. Now this should be low beam. Already you can see there is light. Low beam, low beam. Tail lights are still working, they haven't turned off. So we're winning there. And now and you can see dash lights work as well. Maybe a bit hard to see, but they are on. I'll see if I can turn it off. It gives you, see? So dash lights all work. Now high beam. So flick that. My little, no, earlier the blue light was working. Anyway, that should be glowing blue to tell me the high beam's on, but high beams are working. Might be a bit harder to see. I'm not sure if you can see too much difference from seeing the low beam, but that is 100% high beam. So headlights work. So flick that off. Let's flick that off. Flick that forwards. There we go. So that is headlights. Now, what else do I have here? Dimmer. That works. It's not actually dimming, it just either turns the dash lights on or off. As you can see, it's on, so that's working. And indicators, I reckon, are the last thing. So you can hear that flasher unit, wherever the hell it's hiding. Here it is. You can hear that doing its thing. It's flashing, and you can see it working. And working. So that's that side. Let's do the other side. It's not easy one-handed, but that's flashing on the dash. You can hear that's the flasher unit working. And indicator. And on the front here, indicator. So everything works. The only thing I can't test, because I've got them removed currently on this van, are my reverse lights. Let's turn that off. Turn the ignition off. Sweet. Only thing I do yet need to do is, there was another wire. Where is it? Oh, here it is. This unidentified wire I have traced back to reverse switch. So I've got to wire that up. I'm not sure what is currently in the orange van, so I'm not sure what connector to put on it, or even if there is a reverse wires going to reverse switch. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to check the orange van when I'm next there. So I identified everything. The loom seems to be working. Everything seems to be working as it should. Now, just migrate this loom to the orange van. And what I'll do, I reckon, is I will borrow these switches from this red van and put it into the orange van. And fingers crossed everything works. If not, as I said before, there's a problem with the van. The loom somewhere else other than the dash loom. So anyway, that's the loom sorted. I'm going to wrap it up now and get ready to put it into the orange van. So let's do that. And as I was about to pull this loom out, I forgot to show you just quickly brake lights, as that's a very important part. So you can see, it's hard to tell, but you can see the lights turning on and off just on the bottom there. So brake lights work as well. So I've got a good loom. So let's put this in the orange van now. Alrighty then, so loom's back with the orange panel van, and after testing it on the red van, we're going to chuck it back in and we're going to see if we have any luck getting all the lights and everything working on this. So let me chuck it in and let me test everything, and fingers crossed we'll have lights, at least indicators and brakes and stuff like that. Not too concerned about headlights and things like that, because I won't be driving it at night, but we need what we can get just to get it home. So let's chuck this back in and let's see what doesn't work. Alrighty, so a quick little update. So I got the loom in and I'm currently in the process of testing everything. I'm getting no front indicators, no front headlights. It doesn't seem like I'm getting anything out through the front. At the rear, I've got everything I need at the rear. So we have worked out, if I show you in here, where is the old one? Here it is. So the two connectors, indicator and brake tail lights. This side works. Well, I swapped this connector out from the other side. This is the one I took out. That's faulty, doesn't work. So I need a new one of these. So I don't know where I'm going to get one of them from, but I'm going to have to suss one out. This side here, it had a faulty globe, but that works because we've changed the globes over. That works. And obviously those wires there is where that goes, and this piece is faulty. So otherwise all my wiring's good, so I'm happy with the rear. Obviously I'm not going to have reverse lights because they're knackered, but I'm not going to worry about them at the moment. So as far as I'm concerned, I've got to chase up some connectors, or that one connector, new globes, and I am all sweet for the rear. Now for the front, I will show you what I'm battling with. I haven't investigated into the front headlights too much at the moment, but I have been messing around with the indicators. And everything on this car, when pulled apart, you find more rust. This was just had a pile of rust accumulated inside this housing, and the globe was actually rusted in. This is the remaining remnants of the globe. That was a real bastard to try to get out. And this side is no better. So currently working on trying to get this globe out. I'm assuming the glass is going to come out of that metal part like it did on the other side. And then I'm going to have to battle trying to get the metal part out. Again, this had 10 tons worth of rust in it. I'm assuming the actual where the globes clicked into is covered in rust, and obviously rusted that bulb in. Even the damn bolts, I've had to cut the bolts off. So where the bolts went in, it was just rusty. Everything on this car is rusty. It's an absolute rust bucket. But we're working on this side, and then we're going to get some globes. We're going to test, fingers crossed, we can get some front indicators. If I don't get headlights, well, big deal. I don't plan on driving out at night. I just need front indicators. And then everything else is a bonus. So let's get this damn globe out, shoot down the road, get some new globes, and fingers crossed we can get it working. Okay, so I've got new globes. So I've got tail light, brake light globes, and then front and rear indicator globes. So let's get into changing these globes out. I've also cleaned up the housings, and they are looking significantly better, so fingers crossed I'll get a good connection on those. So both of them are done, got new globes, let's chuck them in, let's put everything back together, let's retest, fingers crossed, I'm going to have working lights.
Recording.
Yeah, jump out back and see if these lights work.
Oh god.
You ready?
I'll do this side first, then I'll jump around the other side.
You ready, brakes? Hang on, nothing.
Battery connected?
No, battery's not connected. Cool, let's try this again. Ignition on. Brakes.
Brakes work. Parkers?
Cool. Let's have a look at tail lights.
Yep, now brake again.
And brake again.
Yep, indicator.
Indicator. Turn those off.
Now leave them all run, then you can find out a earthing issue.
Cool. Ready?
Yep. Nothing.
Oh.
Unless the indicator talks a bit how you doing.
I don't know, I heard the flasher unit go off for a second there. That should be drivers. Let's try passengers, ready?
Yep.
Nothing.
Nah, nothing at that stage. Nothing on the other side. You can see it vaguely.
Gosh.
We'll just test that other side again for the brakes.
And then let's say, yeah, brakes and everything will work.
Yep, and just parkers again for that side.
Parkers.
And then brake again.
Yep, brake.
Yeah, cool. They're both working as they should. And no indicators.
No indicators. The flasher unit, I heard flick a couple of times and then stop, so... Oh, there we go. We've got a one working, dodgy connection. So... Look at that. See, there you go. Now the other one's working too.
Cool. We'll just go back to the other side again.
And the other side?
Yeah. Yep, cool.
Cool, we've got indicators. That's
Awesome.
the rear end done. Yep. Let's move on to the front. Now, is that front passengers working?
Yep.
Beautiful. It's dodgily wired up, but that at least shows that it works. I'm going to connect the other housing up there and see if the housing works. And then let's put them back to where they belong. There we go. Does that housing work?
Yep.
It does?
Yep.
Sweet, cool. Well, at least we know the housings work. Let's try to put them back into the body. Alright, so I should have front indicators now. So, that should be front passengers. So there's my front passengers. And my, give me a moment here. There we go. And that should be front drivers. And it's not working. Let me, it was working a moment ago. Let me have a play with that. And I'll get straight back with yous, hopefully with a working indicator. Because it was working just a moment ago. So with a quick wiggle of the globe, it should hopefully work. So, and there it is. Don't mind my improvisation with the screws. I'm working with what I've got. And that one was working before. So the only electronics on here that don't work in regards to lights, reverse lights and headlights. So I'm going to mess about with the headlights, see if I have any luck with that. I'm not too phased if they work or not, but I'll have a little tinker with it and see how I go. So I'm still battling with the front headlights. So I'm going to actually test the globes. So what I'm going to do here, connect it to the positive, and then using this, which is connected to the negative, let's see if it lights up. So that's good. So that globe should be good. This one here, so the negative should be that one there. And that doesn't seem to be working, so oops. So I can't tell the difference between the high or low beam, but one of the two aren't working on this globe. So I'm going to consider that globe a dud. Chuck it up here. Now for my box of spares, got a couple of spare globes. Let's see if this spare works. So there we go. Whoops, that gets hot real quick. So that works. And so does that one. So the bottom element, top element. Top element's obviously the low beam because it's lighter, I'm assuming. So let's have a look at this one. Well, that's stupidly bright. Yeah, and top element. So bottom element, top element. Cool, so I've got two working globes, so I can rule that out. So let's get to the plug, see what's happening there. Alrighty, so have my headlights now working. So the problem was, well, for starters, you can see I've got this blue wire running to the negative. I've got a bad ground to the plug. So this is just a temporary one for testing. So now I know I need to actually run a wire of one of these grounds and ground it off. But that's working at the moment. So I've got working Parkers, low beam and high beam. Same with this side. So this is just my temporary ground that I've ran into the plug. So if I jump in here and turn it on, so that's my Parkers, low beam, and if I flick this, and high beam, see, and high beam again, you can see I also have high beam. So my headlights work. All I've got to do now is redo a ground. For whatever reason it's not working. Now I'll turn that off before I flan the battery. So do a new ground, because I'm not sure exactly what's happened to the ground on them that's connected, but it's not working. So that's pretty straightforward, but I traced it all the way back to my fuse box. I couldn't get any power, so obviously you saw I tested the globe, it works. Couldn't get any power to the actual plug itself, so I went back, I tested the fuse holder, wasn't getting any power there either. As soon as I unplugged the back, which should have been, what is it, one of these wires here, so it's the fourth one down, it was turning on and off with the switch, but wasn't getting any power to the actual connectors on the fuse holder. So you can see how they're nice and shiny now, the connectors. I gave them a good clean, tested the connections between the two back terminals until they all worked, reconnected it all, and those headlights magically started working. So I've now got front headlights. So let's piece all the front back together, the lights and front grille and whatever else, and there we go, we've got working lights. Sorry for the really poor lighting, but I'm going to show you my lights. So you can see out the front there, Parkers, low beam, and high beam. Let's have a look out front real quick. And lights are working. All my tail lights and stuff work too, as you can see back here. And got my number plate lights working too. Reverse lights I tried getting going, but I've somehow wired them up wrong and they stay on constantly, so I've obviously wired them up wrong. But tail lights, let's turn them off. Let's do indicator. So front drivers, rear drivers, and then you can do the front passengers. You can see over here, front rear passengers. And the only other lights, let's turn that one off, are my brakes. So having a look towards the back, look at that, they're my brakes. So that's all my lights that now work, except for my reverse. I'm not too phased, but I'll tinker around with that a bit later maybe and see how I go. But that's everything. Even my interior light works. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all the lighting and electronics done on the car for the most part. Cool. So now I've got a bit of light. It's gonna end the video off here. So as you can see, headlights are all working, my indicators are working. You saw that at night. I have also tinkered with the alternator, got that working. So I worked out that the dash needs to be connected for the alternator to work properly. So that's all sweet. So I now have a charging alternator. You can see in here, the dash actually lights up. Not great. I think the globes are a bit dodgy, but it's getting power to it. I did clean up the interior. Oh, this is cool too. So, it's a bit hard to see. Oh, there we go. But I chucked these switches in, just zip tied them in. Now, this is the windscreen wipers. Hang on, let me turn the ignition on. You would think I'd be good at this one-handed by now. Come on. There we go. Cool. So, look at that. Windscreen wipers. The other switch is for the heater fan. But I pulled the heater box out. There's no actual fan in it, so that switch now does nothing. Obviously your tail lights, got to tinker around with that one, dodgy connection. Otherwise, all sweet. Got the reverse lights working too. So the actual plate, or whatever you want to call it, actually was grounding out on the body, which was giving it a constant ground, which you're supposed to get the ground from the switch on the gearbox when selecting in reverse, but that's all been now fixed up. So reverse lights do work. It fires up pretty well now. It runs. I took it for a quick little drive just around the yard. But yeah, we are making some really good progress on it. From here, got to do brakes and a service. So the service is going to be fairly extensive. Got to do a new water pump and new oil. Give it a good clean out. Yeah. But yeah, brakes, service, and we should be sweet. Oh, also got the bonnet back on. So got the bonnet all back on. Got this rusty pole holding it all up. It kind of works well with the car, considering the car's so rusty. But I'm going to end it off there. Made some great progress. The electronics are essentially all done. From here, brakes, service, a few little loose ends, and we will see if I'm game enough to try to get this home. Not quite sure yet, but I'm gonna, yeah, once I've done everything I want to it, I will see if I'm confident enough in trying to drive it home, but we shall see. That is the plan. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see yous all on the next episode of Skid's Garage.